This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And yeah, honestly, I expected to have this out on Saturday. We were originally going to watch the film on Friday, but I both got a cold, and a friend that I was going to watch with had to work, and then I just wasn't able to get out until literally the last showing on Sunday night. So I did get to watch the movie. There will be spoilers. I really did enjoy the movie, and I basically spent the entire weekend being excited for it. So, who knows, I may have a little thing on me because I didn't get to watch it immediately, and I was just waiting the entire weekend trying to avoid spoilers, which I was luckily able to do. So let's just get into it. And with it, I really enjoyed the movie. I think that Sam Raimi did a great job. I did like the horror elements put into it. And although I do get this is going to be pretty terrifying for some children, I personally really enjoyed the movie because it felt a lot more mature and a lot more oriented towards an older audience. And yes, I do get that some parents and some people who don't like horror are going to not like this film because of some of the extremely graphic images that are in this. But I am way more fine with it because I don't really get affected by anything that's too graphic or violent. All that is me. I know there are people like me, and I really didn't get too messed up or bothered by anything I saw in this movie. The first thing I really enjoyed was the character of both Doctor Strange and Wanda. I think they both did a great job, and honestly, I wasn't expecting them to make Wanda the full villain of the movie. I thought with how everything is today that they wouldn't want Wanda to be the main villain and there would be someone behind her or some bigger threat, but I am so glad they went this way because I think it was the best way to tell the story. I also know from some reviews that people didn't want Wanda to be the main villain, but I think it really works because this sort of undoes a little what she does from WandaVision in that she learned to get over the Vision's death. But just because you can get over one death does not mean you can get over the death of your children, which makes it even harder because she basically created a few years of their life in her mind, and that really affects her. And I think it's kind of ridiculous to be saying she got over the death of Vision, so why is she still being affected by all this? Because, yeah, she got over the death of Vision, but she lost her kids, and that's something even harder to get over than the loss of someone you love because although I don't have kids, I think I'm still pretty young. I do have siblings, and I cannot imagine what would happen if I lost them. And I think that's just something that really does affect Wanda, and it's really hard for her to deal with this, and it's really understandable. The massacre that was committed by Wanda in this movie was extremely intense and really interesting. I will go into it in a minute, but looking at the other characters in this, I really think Wong was once again fun in this. I think Wong has been a really great character in the MCU and has just been a fun add-on to this universe and has done a great job in it. I think that the storyline with while Doctor Strange trying to realize if he's truly happy. I think it was done really well. It wasn't perfect. Like they could have put maybe a little more time, maybe had this movie be about 2.5 hours long. But still, I think that it was still really interesting, and it's interesting also to have Christine put in this movie in a different way, where we're teaming up with an alternate version of her that worked for the Illuminati, and with that, she also lost her Doctor Strange, but he was actually killed by the Illuminati, which is another pretty interesting thing. And I really think that it is interesting to see how these characters have truly changed, with Wanda sort of going on a full loop from starting out as a villain to turning into a hero to returning to being a villain. And Wanda feels pretty much like how the Hulk should be. And by that I mean the Hulk feels very, should feel very conflicted and like he wants to go and both be a good person, but also has stuff that is going to be controlling him as evil. This is also an interesting way to do Hank Pym, who does suffer from mental issues in the comics. And I think it can be very interesting to see. I would definitely want to see it tackled with Hulk, although Hulk has seemed to resolve the problems he has with his alternate personality being the Hulk, and Hulk could be far more destructive. Well, we could just see just so much more with some of the other characters, but I am really excited to see how this will continue with everything else and how the characters like Wanda will evolve as long as she is still alive. Looking at some of the other stuff with Multiverse of Madness, before I go into the really crazy stuff, just looking at some of the other stuff, I just really had a lot of fun watching this. I think that we had a great sequence when they were going through all the different realities, and I thought it looked really cool. It was really interesting to see the different realities and what it looks like, and that while animation realities fully are canon to the MCU and they would look visually different, and it's all explained there. That was really interesting, and there's also the funny paint one. Yeah, with this, I think that this movie was a lot of fun, but I think moving just to the big stuff, first off, talking about the horror elements, I believe I did mention it earlier, but I am not affected as much by, things that are scary. I really am not affected by horror movies, and I could watch them. Not really getting scared. The only thing that may ever give me is if they turn up the audio and stuff for a loud jump scare, and that's more of just putting me off in a second instead of actually scaring me, because I can go through haunted houses and everything. But yeah, we have some extremely gory scenes. Introducing the Illuminati, we have some interesting characters. We get Professor X, Mr. Fantastic, and Black Bolt. All characters you would not think to be in a more modern Marvel movie, at least yet, until they got their own series, with Black Bolt previously being in the extremely bad Inhumans show, which I never watched. Mr. Fantastic only being in the three bad Fantastic Four movies, and Marvel has basically stopped using the Fantastic Four in recent years, both because they don't want to be giving the advertising to Fox, but also because they have become far less popular with how bad the movies have been. And then Professor X, X-Men just finished up. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see Patrick Stewart in here, with him dying for the third time, although it's kind of the second because when he died in X3, he was able to come back. I don't really understand how he did it. I think they said they took over his brother's body, but it looked identical to his and was also paralyzed. I really don't know. It was a pretty bad movie, and it just gave us Days of Future Past. So I don't really care, but looking at it, it was very interesting to see everything going on here. I really enjoyed having the Illuminati and having characters like Captain Carter there. But having Captain Marvel more was interesting, and then just the brutal massacre that the Scarlet Witch did, going and killing each and every single of the members of the Illuminati. And some pretty brutal kills too, blowing up Black Bolt's head, cutting Captain Carter in half, crushing Captain Marvel, and then a few that weren't as brutal. We get to see Mr. Fantastic, sort of torn apart. We see the snapping of Professor X's neck, and I think Mordo survived, but he was also one of the least interesting one since he wasn't really from anywhere. Yeah, it was a pretty crazy battle, and probably definitely the most gory scene in the MCU, and maybe the most gory scene in Marvel. I'm not 100% sure. I need to go and check some stuff like Deadpool 2 and Logan, because those are rated R, so they're, willing to go a little more beyond with that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that this is PG-13, and this is probably the hardest PG-13 in the MCU. And just looking at everything that happened in the Illuminati's universe, it's interesting to see how they beat Thanos, how their Doctor Strange went and destroyed another universe, and how they created lies. It definitely shows this Illuminati was not perfect, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't go immediately for the kill on Wanda. There is also a few mistakes made. Like when Mr. Fantastic advertised what Black Bolt's powers were before he could use them on Wanda, and that led to his death. But yeah, that was really interesting, and I was really excited to see how they were taken out. And like, yeah, the final thing I think I didn't talk about with the movie that I really want to talk about is Sinister Strange and the zombie Strange in the climax of the movie. Looking at Sinister Strange, we have a really interesting battle where they're using the music to fight each other. And I'm guessing that Danny Elfman had a lot of fun doing that. I think it was a good sequence. Not my favorite, but I thought it looked visually cool and looked really fun to do. And I mean, that was one of the things that just was fine with. They had fun doing it, and I had fun watching it. So that was just a fun scene to watch. And then everything was so strange of him killing off all these other variants and connecting this to the fact that dreams are memories of multiverse selves, and I really enjoyed that. And Kurt Angle's forgot to mention was America Chavez, and I think that she was really good. She was fun and interesting, and I enjoyed her as a character. I think she was really good, and I really enjoyed her as a character. Looking at the ultimate climax of the movie, we have Doctor Strange possessing his alternate self and going to attack Wanda in the form of a zombie body. That was really interesting, and the fact that they weren't able to beat her, I really liked. I liked that they had to show her the error of her ways. They've been trying the entire movie, and we're finally able to show her that she was going to terrify her children and not be able to be their mother, and that was a really interesting thing to see. Just having the alternate versions of Billy and Tommy, and even having the alternate version of Wanda forgive her, even though she might not be 100% sure of what she made her do, because she just went and murdered the entire most powerful superheroes in their universe. So they are not going to be doing well, and also left Reed Richards' children without a father. But yeah, that's a really nice way to end it, and I really enjoyed it. I like that Scarlet Witch was able to sacrifice herself and potentially die, although it's extremely unlikely, and she will be back. We're obviously here with Vision trying to seek redemption, although it's going to be really hard because, well, not everyone knows fully what she did. She knows that she went and murdered a bunch of innocent people and left some people without parents, and it's going to be really hard for her to come back from that. I think that's really interesting, and I'm wondering where she will go next. It's interesting to see that Doctor Strange went in and grew a third eye. I'm wondering what this is going to be used for and what effect it'll have on him. And then finally, with him meeting a character who will eventually become his wife, that was really interesting, at least in the comics. I'm not sure if they do that in the MCU, but yeah, this is a really exciting series. I really want to see where they're going to go with it, and I really enjoyed this movie. It's definitely been one of my favorites of Phase 4, right below No Way Home. And yeah, I think this is definitely number 2 right now in Phase 4, although I'm not sure fully where I will rank it compared to the MCU as a whole. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun watching it, and I think it was definitely worth the wait. I am so excited to see where they go next. And I do have some theories, which I'm going to do in a separate video mainly because this is already 17 minutes long and I have a lot of stuff to do for my finals and I kind of need to eat. So I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.